All right, Titans offense, Derrick Henry should be back. How will they play against the Cincinnati Bengals? Should be some good stuff, although I should mention this is the part 2 of a 2-part video series. The first one I did was about the Bengals offense, how they will attack the Titans defense, so check that out. It's on this channel, just uploaded it recently, or you can just get into this one because you don't have to watch that one to understand what's going on here, because I'm just talking about the 2 different sides of the ball. But anyways, let's just get into it. So like first off right here, so what you're looking at here is this is where each of these 2 teams ranked in certain positional groups in terms of PFF grades. So for the Titans offense, Ryan Tannehill in the passing attack, just in terms of throwing the football, was 9th best according to PFF. And then on the other side, the Bengals defense, they were 10th best in coverage. That's how this works. So for the Titans, really good Ryan Tannehill. I mean, that's 9th best. That's good. Receiving core is sort of mediocre, but worth mentioning. They've had their injuries over this season, so that's obviously an element of it. And then for Cincinnati, their coverage is solid. So I mean, better than solid, really. Top 10. That's very good. So it's kind of good on good there. Also for the pass blocking versus pass rushing, it's kind of bad on bad. But as I mentioned in my other video, where there was also bad pass blocking and bad pass rushing in terms of PFF grades, that typically favors the defense. Bad offensive line play with bad defensive line play creates more pressure than if it was good offensive line play versus good defensive line play. Meanwhile, for the running game, this is fascinating, and this is maybe the most concerning statistic for the Cincinnati Bengals is, the Titans' running attack hasn't been spectacular this season. Solid run blocking at 10th best, and the running itself has been 20th best, but of course, Derrick Henry has been out all season. He should be back for this game, going up against the Bengals' 22nd best run defense, according to PFF. That is very concerning, especially when they're even banged up. So let's get into the film, and, talking about the film, there's only so many things we can really talk about when it comes to these 2 teams, because they haven't played each other yet, but there still are plenty of things I think we can get into, and one of the first things I thought of was, okay, basically what I always do with teams when they haven't played each other is I try to find the most similar matchups I can that have happened recently. Well, this game wasn't that recent. It was in the middle of the season, but I want to think about, okay, well, the Browns rushing attack, that's similar to the Titans rushing attack when they have Derrick Henry. It's a really good running back, all of that stuff, and the Browns really had a great day against Cincinnati. They blew them out in this one, and you see the blocking concept on the screen, but really the main thing I want to talk about is the running back himself, Nick Chubb. Watch how right when this play begins, you do see that a guard is going to pull over, but for Cincinnati, you have some contact being made here. This is good. This is Sam Hubbard, who one of their better defensive linemen, who's in this spot. He's creating contact on Nick Chubb, but Nick Chubb's a tough guy to bring down. Watch how Chubb basically just runs through that contact, and it's going to take a few guys to eventually bring him down. So, listen, Nick Chubb is very good. He does that to, a lot of people, not just teams that have poor rushing defenses. But who also does that to a lot of people? Derrick Henry. As much as I like Nick Chubb, Derrick Henry is clearly the best halfback in football when healthy, and assuming he's 100% and ready to go, this is going to be some trouble for Cincinnati, I think. Something like this is going to be another example where you see the blocking concept. It's going to be a run to Nick Chubb's left, which is towards the right side of the screen. And watch how right when this play begins, the handoff is to Chubb. He's able to get to the second level. I've paused it right here. So, okay, get to the second level, well blocked, whatever. Again, how much will that happen in this game? You could argue maybe not as much. You could argue when it comes to run blocking, well, the Titans are pretty good at it. Maybe you could argue the Browns are better at it. I don't think that's an unfair argument to make. But here's what we do know. There will be times when Derrick Henry gets out to the second level. And there will be times when Bengals players have to make open field tackles. And they're going to have, quite frankly, they're going to have to do a much better job of it when they're going up against, Derrick Henry than they did against the Browns, because they did a horrible job against the Browns. This is Jesse Bates, who's the guy who has to make this tackle, who, again, is one of their better players. But the reality is a lot of these, secondary players aren't the best in run defense. That's not really where they thrive. Watch how Chubb is going to be able to make a quick move, and he picks up even more yards there. Now, again, you could argue, okay, well, how many times is that really going to come into play? But the issue is it is going to come into play, and you're going to have to make those plays if you're Cincinnati. So if you're a Cincinnati Bengals fan, you're just saying, hey, all right, we just make those plays a couple of times, and then we still have a great quarterback, and typically if you have a great quarterback versus a great running back, you win. But of course, as we know, there's great running backs, and then there's Derrick Henry. He's kind of in a category all by himself. One more example of this is going to be something like this, where I'm going to highlight, so you look at the right tackle for Cleveland, watch what happens. First, you're going to see that, it's a really good play to get past him, but you can't quite make the tackle. So that's not ideal. You want to be able to make the tackle. And again, that's kind of the thing, is maybe this was just a bad day. This is Larry Ogunjobi. Maybe this was just a bad day. Also should mention Ogunjobi is out for the playoffs, so maybe even bringing this up doesn't make any sense. But, if they're not using Ogunjobi, then they'll use whoever his replacement is. But that's not even really the whole reason I wanted to show this play, quite frankly. The player who I have circled in black right now, that's Eli Apple. He's kind of the last line of defense right here. And again, you don't have to make these plays constantly, but you're going to have to make them every now and then, and it's not easy to do against Derrick Henry. Watch how Chubb basically just runs right through him. I mean, it's like he didn't even touch Chubb there, although he clearly did. So that's an issue, and that resulted in a big touchdown. You can't let that happen in this postseason game where I'm expecting it to be a very close game. You got to be better than that. So will Cincinnati be better than they were against Cleveland? Probably, but how much better is going to be the question, because that is a weakness, and it's not a weakness you want to have. And let's also talk about this play now, because it can also set stuff up. I think that other example, again, really, we only got to see Cleveland play Cincinnati once, because the second time they played, it was without a lot of Cincinnati's starters. But the first time they played, you're going to see a concept like this, and you're probably thinking, this looks a little bit familiar. This is a staple of the Titans offense. You run a play action, have usually A.J. Brown run over the middle. He can make a catch, make a safety miss, run 75 yards, and get a touchdown. However, you can also run some extra stuff on top of it, which I'm certain that Tennessee will try and do, and Cleveland did in this game. Look at how Donovan Peoples-Jones is going to basically run a deeper route, but eventually get over to where, deeper past where a safety is currently lined up. The safety lined up basically in the zone that's, second closest to the top of the screen. Right when this play begins, you're going to really see the reasoning for why it works. The safety moves in to cover that crossing route, which makes sense. Someone has to cover that crossing route, but in doing this, it now leaves Donovan Peoples-Jones, who is running deep, wide open. Look at how Peoples-Jones is going to get open. This results in a big completion. I could totally see Tannehill doing something like this. I think that the Titans should be able to run their offense the way they want to. Tennessee will do a good job, no doubt, but I do think that this is a situation that I like Tennessee, and I like how Tennessee matches up in this one. So here's my final prediction on this side of the ball. So Tennessee scores 2.25 points per drive on the year, and Cincinnati gives up 1.88 points per drive on the year. Obviously worth mentioning, if Derrick Henry is out there, we would assume Tennessee would score a lot more than 2.25 points per drive on the year. If you want to look at last year's statistics, they scored 2.98 points per drive on the year, although slight asterisk next to it that basically offense was just up a lot last year. Maybe it was just a COVID thing, I don't know, because the team that had the best points per drive this year is the Chiefs at 2.81, but still, very good stuff. I'm predicting the Titans to score 2.5 points per drive in this game on 9 drives, which would be 23 points, which might actually sound a little bit low given all of the positives I've given to Tennessee, but I want to be very clear. I have a lot of respect for what this Bengals defense has done. It's not necessarily the scheme I love, but they're really good at it, and they played it very well. So I do think that, when your strategy is to run the football constantly, I'm usually not a huge fan of it. I'll make an exception if you have Derrick Henry, but I'm usually not a huge fan of it. Largely because I think it's the kind of thing where you make one mistake and the drive can stall, and Cincinnati can force you into that mistake. However, 2.5 points per drive is certainly on the high end. There's no denying that. Just so you're aware, only 7 teams in the NFL this season averaged better than 2.5 points per drive on the year. Meaning my final score prediction is really close. I have the Bengals scoring 22 and the Titans scoring 23. This is anyone's game. It really is. I think what the Titans have done this season, especially defensively, you have to give them the edge. They've earned that. They earned a 1 seed. They've earned the right to be favored in this one. That's what I think. But don't count Cincinnati out. I predicted them to lose by 1 point last week. I almost nailed that. I was hoping that the Raiders would score a touchdown and then get the 2-point conversion, so I would have nailed my prediction. I didn't. That was the one that I was wrong about. I'm predicting the Bengals to lose by 1 point again, so if you're a Bengals fan, maybe you're saying, awesome, sounds good. We'll buy tickets to the AFC Championship game already. But yeah, that's my prediction on all of this fun stuff. Should be a great game, though. Very much looking forward to it. 2 fun teams. One of them will get a play in the AFC Championship game. That'll be cool. But yeah, that's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.